Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs or professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to business owners that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that you experience as a small business owners. Come on our show to share those skills, experiences, expertise with us so that we can apply those to our own business. So, Freddie, thank you very much for your time, both sharing your time with me and sharing your time with the audience and those experiences that you have accumulated. It does mean a lot to have you on the show as a fellow podcaster and someone that has really taken a look at the art of podcasting and how to do those things effectively. It's a pleasure to have someone on that speaks my same language. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your business?
Sure. First off, Bailey, really appreciate you reaching out to me to be on your podcast. A little bit about me, the TLDR version was in radio for a long time, long time, more than 25 years. Left while it was still fun at the end of 2021. And after being certifiably unemployable, we're talking 400 plus applications, 55 plus official rejections, and about 6 interviews that didn't go right. I figured that was a sign from a higher power that, hey, one, you are unemployable, but two, you've got the chops for being a business owner. And so here I am, the owner of Speke Podcasting. It's the second iteration of, they say your first business always fails. The first iteration failed. Speke Podcasting is the second iteration of my business, which is centered around podcasting, all things audio. We do video production, and of course, we are helping people who aspire to having a show. We help them with road mapping, coming up with names, all the ancillary kind of custodial work that nobody wants to do but has to do. The building needs to get cleaned, so we do all that stuff so that all they have to do is rock the mic and be on camera if they want to be on camera.
So tell me a little bit more about your story. I know that you said that you were in radio for a long time.
Yeah.
And how did you kind of learn the art of podcasting, right? Because having a good conversation or being a good interviewer is not the entire story. It's not the full picture, even though maybe it seems like it is for a lot of people. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. And how did you begin to apply that in a business setting?
Yeah, well, so there's the cliche, your network is your net worth. And so when I realized that I was not going to find a traditional 9 to 5 job, it was really it was doing those reach outs. And I'll go back because yeah, you're right. The story, there's a lot more to the story. So in 2015, this was 10 years ago, I was voluntold to take over a Sunday morning show. Me being a top 40 radio DJ at the time was used to talking 8 to 10 seconds, 30 seconds, no longer than that, right? And so being told to take over a show that was 3 8-minute segments was like giving giving a kid the keys to the candy shop. It's
Sure.
like, you know what you're going to do, but then you also don't know. It's like sensory overload. And so I had no idea what I was doing. So it was just a matter of cold calling people, nonprofit. It was a Sunday morning public affairs show. So nonprofits, 5K charity walks and runs and whatnot. And so cold calling people, hey, do you want to be on KRBE? Hey, do you want to be on KRBE? Well, here's what you got to do. Here's what you got to do. So fast forward to when I started my business, it was all those contacts that I had built, all those relationships that I accumulated over time, going out and hosting free events, going out not charging anything, but going out and emceeing a 5K or emceeing. One of our biggest clients is the Rose, and every year from I believe 2016, I've emceed their annual shrimp boil, and so really nurturing those relationships within your community, and having a network that way. It's not so much, oh, well, I'm calling in a favor, but rather it's, well, who do you know that you can offer your service to? And you never know when you make that ask what's going to come of it. So with Dorothy, she's one of the co-founders of the Rose, and I was like, well, I think you need the long story short is here's a presentation of why the Rose needs a podcast. And she looked at me, Freddie, we've been wanting to have a podcast for 3 years and just never knew how to get started. And that was the first sort of sales presentation that I ever had. It was like, I don't know if it was a gift or a curse, because the next 30 after that were hard no's. Maybe I needed, maybe
Sure.
the universe needed to hand me a win. And so my first one was that win. And so I've been lucky in that regard. But yeah, it's really just about people and getting to know them, and again, fostering those relationships, and it all accumulates over time.
So tell me the value. As you're talking to, I mean, obviously I speak that language, right? Because I'm literally in the process of iterating that in my own business myself, right? But talk to me about the value, both from a brand perspective and a customer perspective, of being a small business that has a podcast.
Well, these are things that a podcast is something that you can share on your own terms. So, yeah, I was just about an hour and a half before talking to you, Bailey, was talking with the community manager from Riverside.fm, which is the remote recording platform that we use for our company and our clients. And it was, it's one of those things where you you can tell your brand story, your business, your nonprofit, or if you're a solopreneur, you can tell your story on your own terms. Um, Kendall, who was the lady I was interviewing, she also comes from traditional media, TV, and it was one of those things where, you know, um, there are elements from TV and radio that you can incorporate into
Right.
podcasting, but for the most part, podcasting is done on your terms. Bailey can decide who Bailey wants to interview. It could be somebody, it could be guests exclusively from the Atlanta area, or it could be broader, speaking on a broader term, within Georgia, or Bailey can reach out to somebody all the way in Texas, and really just tell the story of what he's doing and pique his curiosities on his own terms. So if you're, let's say you're a fitness coach in the Houston area. I'm in the Houston area. Let's just pretend for 1 second that I'm a gym bro and I like to lift weights and I'm really good at it. I bench press 500, and I can tell my story of how I got started. Maybe I was unhealthy as a kid. Maybe my family was unhealthy, and I can tell that, and I don't have to rely on traditional media to pick me and my business and my incredible story of being once unhealthy and now being this guy who is coaching people that are in my shoe that were in shoes that I once wore. And so it's doing that, not just however you want, but it's whenever you want. You can have your podcast be as long as you want. If you want to do an interview, you can do an interview. If you want to have a solo show, you can have a solo show. If you want to do one time a week, you can do once a week. You can do daily. You can do daily 2 minute, 5 minute sprint interviews. You can have them by season. So, you're going to, man, Q1 is really busy for us gym coaches because everybody's new year, new me. You can just record interviews by season between April to August. So there's really no right or I shouldn't say there's no right or wrong way to do it, as long as you know exactly why you're having a podcast and who the podcast is for, which are really the most important parts of having a show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that most people fall into this idea of a podcast of, oh, I'm going to release one episode a week. And we've heard so much about consistency on social media and things like that. But the most beautiful thing about the podcast, especially from my experience, is that it gets to take its own shape,
Yeah.
right? Every conversation is a little bit different. Every conversation is a little bit unique, but in the same scope, you're having a similar conversation for the most part with most of those people, right? The value that the audience gets doesn't change a lot. So, if you don't mind, I was wondering if you would share with the audience the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, how the company that you work with did the one release a day for the entire month, like how they're actually literally using that as a marketing tool, how um, they're taking this time that they know is very very popular for them, where their keywords are the hottest, where the topic is the most frequently seen, and pushing out content. And just tell me about the upswing. Just basically repeat some of that anecdote that you had told me on the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this was this this came out of nowhere. We're in a marketing meeting. We have one a month where we go over the previous month, and so it's like, well, BCAM, that's what we call Breast Cancer Awareness Month. BCAM is right around the corner. What are some ideas? And um, I just, for lack of a better term, just vomited out 31 straight episodes, and they all looked around the conference room and were like, okay. And so I was like, really? Okay, fantastic. So how do we do it? Because 31 straight days of episodes sounds like a logistical nightmare for somebody who, if it's a small business and you're working with a team of fewer than 10 or even fewer than 5, or if it's you and 2 people, that would be a nightmare to plan and have interviews, and then you're juggling multiple schedules. You're also having to worry about your business, which pays the bills. If you're a family person, you got the spouse and kids, parents maybe, that you're taking care of. So there are a lot of things that go that don't have anything to do with your podcast that affect your podcast operation. So what we did, instead of, and typically, let's back up here. So with the Rose, their podcast is Let's Talk About Your Breasts, and they're typically interview episodes, about a half an hour, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. So we knew going into this, once we got the yes, we want to do this, we then were like, well, we're not going to do 31 straight. We're not going to do 31 30-minute episodes, because
Right.
and they're an established nonprofit organization with an actual marketing team, right? So knowing so then working from there, we know what we're not going to do, and then you build out the system. Okay, well, we have events, so I can go and record uh, live, kind of man on or woman on the street interview type of podcast interviews, where these would only be like a minute, 2 minutes long, and they would talk about what the Rose means to them. These could be different solo episodes with Dorothy as the co-founder, and so we used these tools and these different techniques for recording audio, so that we had 31 straight days of content to put out. And so then when we did it the next year, so this will be 2024, we had all these episodes that we had amassed from the previous year, and we were able to run a few. Not all of them were repeats, but a few repeats, so that there wasn't as much pressure to put out 31 fresh new episodes. And so we go out to these live events, and they have a ton of live fundraising events. I talked about the shrimp boil, but they have Hats and Henna High Tea. They have the Rose Luncheon. They have a whole bunch of other kind of smaller tier and also independent third-party fundraisers, where we can go out and record people talking about, well, what does the Rose mean to you? Why is breast cancer awareness important to you? What is your story? What's your personal tie to this disease? So on and so forth. And so we get this audio and we can bank it and we save it throughout the year. And that way, when BCAM comes around for 2025, we're not scrambling in the months of August and September to figure out how we're going to put out 31 straight episodes. And so what happens at the end, Bailey, is that you go and look at the insights and the analytics. And so here we are in November of 2023, which is the month following the first time that we did this, and we saw, I'm not even kidding, more than 500% increase in listenership. The downloads were insane. So it's not just about consistency. And of course, you've got to make sure that the content is killer and it's on point and you're delivering that value proposition that your podcast is claiming. But it's also getting in the reps and getting in those reps and understanding that it's not going to sound that not everything is going to sound the same, and going in there with the perfectly imperfect mindset that this is that we're going to do it as best as we can. We're going to deliver we're going to do what we do best, and that's what's going to matter. And we're going to put these episodes out and watch the magic happen. We saw another pretty huge increase in downloads, obviously, in 2024 last year. So um, I would just say if there are podcast hosts that are listening right now, and there is room to get a little creative, one, and two, time, which is the one thing that we don't have a lot of. Um, Maybe it's Joe's Coffee Shop's 10th anniversary or 25th anniversary or whatever. And that's the perfect chance to do 10 straight episodes or 25 straight episodes. Uh,
Right.
and if you have enough of a jump on that specific anniversary, or if it's the owner's birthday, it's Bailey Cooper's birthday on September
Right.
30th. And for this day only, we're going to do um, for this month only, we're going to do 30 straight episodes. Not to put you on the spot, but
Right.
yeah, these are things that with enough planning and preparation, you can absolutely knock out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that um for the audience to know is that one, the execution side of things you need to consult with someone on from a podcast perspective, because speaking from experience, it took me a lot of trial and error to really iron out my processes, the understanding of the technology, and what our strategy was going to be with our own podcast, mixed with that was happening during, like, we had that process going on during COVID for the most part, and everything since then has been um, pretty consistent. So, like, I had 6 months to figure this stuff out during the least busy time of my professional career, and not everyone has that luxury. Um, it's an incredible opportunity to be able to consult with someone on how you can take that process and make it effective and applicable to your business. Additionally, it is necessary to consult with someone on the strategy of your content and how you're going to connect with your listeners and what your goal is for the podcast, right? Like, this podcast, Burn the Ship, kind of functions like an encyclopedia. There's 500 and something episodes of entrepreneurs out there telling you what makes their business tick. And so trying to find ways to, one, find diverse entrepreneurs like yourself. We've never interviewed someone else in the professional podcasting space. And two, trying to find someone else that, or trying to find some other way to connect with our audience and bring value to our audience. Um, they're conversations that never really leave your head, and like that writer's call type of interaction that you would see behind the scenes on Saturday Night Live. Like, you genuinely need that type of creative juice to apply it to your podcast. And it doesn't mean there's 40 hours of work in a week for you on your podcast, but I promise you that you'll end up saving time and effort and get a lot more return if you think about those things in the forefront, instead of reacting to what you may or may not love about the process of your podcast. So I think that asking the right questions for someone that's been in that space is super, super important for anyone that wants to, one, put out long form content for your business. If that applies to your business, if that applies to you personally, or you are just enthusiastic and obsessed with something, the podcast is probably a good place for you. But you need to ask yourself these questions, because a lot of times they're simple answers that will keep you from straying too far from the center line and losing your audience. For you, from the perspective of an entrepreneur, Freddie, what's kind of been your superpower? What's been the thing that's made all of this tick for you? Because I know it's difficult to be in that sales position, right? Is telling clients that, hey, here's who I am, and here's what I do, and here's what I know, and you can trust me, and here's how we're going to apply it here, is a different type of verbiage that you're not used to coming from a radio background or a corporate background. So being able to apply, one, the rendering of your service, and two, the business acumen and the sales side of those things I can see it difficult to grow those two things congruently. So tell me about the process of becoming a business owner. How do you feel about it? And what is that thing that continues to move the ball forward for you?
Speak Podcasting would not exist if it was not for our clients. And I am the luckiest guy in the world to get to work with every single one of them. We talk about the rows. I've also got an array of different clients ranging from nonprofits to real estate. I've got medical, like actual medical doctors. And the fact that I get to hang out with people who run a National Museum of Funeral History. I get to hang out with a neurologist, a plastic surgeon, a urogynecologist. Yes, I know I'm a man, but I've learned so much about menopause through the menopod for women who refuse to pause. I've learned so much from each one of these clients, and they make me want to be a better person. And I never thought coming from corporate America that owning a business was something that I would that I would ever do. I'd never thought. I mean, listen, when I left corporate America, Bailey, I really thought I was going to have another 9 to 5. I talk about the 400 plus applications that I had filled out trying to get jobs doing anything similar to being a radio host or writing copy or something with audio design, booking and scheduling guests, editing audio, you name it, I tried it. I tried to get on TV. I'm like, oh, maybe this is my next call is being on TV. No, I didn't. I applied for a job with, I want to say, almost every single local TV affiliate. And guess who got on TV? Not this guy. I was just, when you talk about a greater force saying that this is your next path, I don't, I mean, you could not convince me otherwise. So what drives my business is just getting to work with really high level individuals. It's not like I never did in my other career, but really getting to work with just the coolest people that I've met over the past few years, and realizing that, man, you can leave something that you loved and then find something else that you love a gazillion times more, and you could still utilize those same skills from the past to grow, to get into the next chapter of your life. But to talk about, you asked about sales. um, I've kind of had to really mind hack myself because there's the limiting thought that, oh, well, I'm not a good salesperson. And I used to think that, oh, I'm terrible at sales. And, words matter, especially talking to Dr. Patton, who's the neurologist, Your Health, Your Wealth. That's his show. Talking to Dr. Patton, the words you use really matter in every context of your life. And so think about all the damage I was doing to myself when I first started. I'm terrible at sales. What kind of foundation am I saying for myself? Of course I'm terrible at sales, and of course if I say that I'm terrible at it, of course I'm going to be terrible at it. And do you think that I'm going to get any clients after speaking those words into the universe and laying that foundation for myself? It's like, no. I am working on my sales techniques. I am studying the psychology of how I can communicate with people. I'm not trying to manipulate them. I am trying to convince them that maybe this is the path they should choose, that there is value in my company, and maybe not in my company, but there is value in the art of podcasting and telling their brand story with the world. And if whether or not they choose me, that's irrelevant. And this is something that I've told prospects. Look, you don't need someone like me. You don't need Speak Podcasting to have your own podcast. There are 435, 450,000 active podcasts. Well, guess what? Speak Podcasting has, last I counted, 13. 13. So you don't need you don't need me. You don't need any of these other production houses. But as long as you know that you've got a story and that you are interesting, and the world needs to hear your viewpoint of whatever it is that you do, whether it's fitness coaching or if it's um, financial responsibility, or whatever it is. As long as you know how to convey that message to the world, you've got the right tools, go for it.
Yeah, no, I can completely agree. I think that going back to your story about, being certifiably unemployable, right?
Yeah.
Um I think that maybe there's a chance. Well, I think that there's a chance, and maybe this just isn't your personality or how you approach things in life, but in a more generalized sense, I think that there is a chance if you don't go through something like that you don't approach your day-to-day activities with the same conviction, right? Like the title of this podcast is Burn the Ship, because that's what we're encouraging people to do, is evacuate the idea of plan B. You know what I mean? It is, hey, let go of the idea of plan B and go all in on this thing that you're enthusiastic about, that is super engaging to you, and be surprised at the level of success, right? Well, fortunately for you, you had no choice. You got told about plan B, which was plan A at the time. That idea that I can find this position, I can find a spot for myself, it vacated itself very quickly in that process because of interviews, rejections, applications. And then I think that when you apply that same logic to your business, you realize, like, oh, I have to figure out a way to make things work here, and you surprise yourself at your capabilities. You surprise yourself at what you're willing to learn and what you're willing to do to push your business forward. So I commend you for those things, because there are growing pains in every business, in every area, in sales or process management or hiring or firing or people or your website or your marketing. Like, there are things to learn and things to be improved on in every area of your business. I don't care what industry you're in. There are things that you could do better. Fortunately for us, the people that are buying from you are also human, and no one expects you to be perfect. But I think that goes to say that if you burn the ship and approach what you want to do with a level of conviction, you can shock yourself at your own level of success, which is it's a brilliant place to be. One, and two, it is literally the catalyst for some of the most powerful businesses in the United States, right? Is that people were uberly fanatical about innovation and understanding of their customer and solving problems for people. And at a high level, if you apply some of those things to your own business, you will shock yourself at what you're capable of. But Freddie, how do we support you? How do we support Speke Podcasting? What are some resources that you can give us so that we can support some of the people that you work with? Our audience loves to connect people within their network to you. So if there are people that you're looking to get connected to, what might those people be?
I'm going to pause for a second, Bailey, because I don't know if you can hear my dog bark. He's very loud in my office. Is he really loud on your end?
I can't hear him at all, which is
Oh, okay, perfect.
surprising. And
Okay.
it will not be the first dog we have ever had bark on the
I'm going to open
podcast,
the door and
trust
let him
me.
out so he can go and bark in the other room.
Sure, no, it's all good.
All right.
Go bark in the other room.
I hope that's a clean edit for you, man.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be fine.
Here we go. All right. Yeah, really appreciate that. So one of the things that we hand out to prospects, or really anybody that's interested in starting a show, and again, you don't need Speak Podcasting to start your own show, is the official roadmap that we have devised. This is something for people with little to no budget, and then people who want to talk on the kinds of mics that we have. I've got the Shure SM7B. Maybe you want to get down and dirty, just jump right into it because you've got the resources, you've got the time, and this is the time to start your show. And you want to go and get that Rodecaster board, you want the Shure mic, you want to get all the bells and whistles. There's something in there for you too. But aside from the equipment, what is your show going to be about? We talk about what's the show, who's the show for, why are you doing it, what are you going to name it, what are some shows that are kind of in that same kind of zone of influence is what you want to get into. So some thought experiments, some exercises for you, as well as the Speak Podcasting roadmap. And you all please reach out to Bailey, and he'll get you a copy of it. And if you want to join the Speak Podcasting family, it's an impressive roster. We got the Rose, we got the Funeral History Museum, we've got Dr. Sturm, Dr. Patton, Dr. Samuels. We got a whole array of clients, and really just Bailey, I really appreciate you reaching out to me. Your email a few weeks ago was an unexpected surprise. Um, when you get invited to be on somebody's show, it's like getting invited to a party.
Hmm.
So,
Well, no, thank you. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the information that you've shared with both myself and the audience. I think that what you do is very, very interesting, and I'm happy to see where you are in your life after the experience that you went through, trying to find where you fit in. Do you know what I mean? It's a refreshing thing, genuinely, to talk to someone that is very. I've said this word a couple of times. I should probably use a synonym for people looking to get in the podcasting space, but enthusiastic about what it is that you do. And I'm happy to be able to support that and have you in my network. It's been wonderful every time I've been able to talk to you, and I look forward to continuing to be able to support you. So for you guys in the audience, we're going to have the information about how to get in touch with Freddie in the description. More than happy to get that podcast roadmap out to people. If it's okay, do you share that publicly, or do you only share it kind of one-on-one?
I do share it publicly. I don't have my website designed where people can subscribe and download it for free. I
Sure.
probably think
Maybe we'll pop it up on the screen just to let people know what it looks like briefly. And if you want a copy or something a little bit more interactive, we can get that to you as well. But I think that the biggest takeaway from this, especially from a podcasting and from an entrepreneur perspective, is one, approach your business with conviction. I think that you had no choice but to do that, and speaking with some of the people that you're talking to in your network that became clients of yours, and obviously it translated to some level of success and continued learning in your industry. Two, there are creative ways to market your business no matter what industry you are in, right? And whether you are consulting with Freddie or consulting with whoever out there in the world, there are creative ways to market your business as an entrepreneur that are atypical to you, that maybe you haven't thought of, maybe you haven't, no one's ever told you it applied to your industry, but I promise there are ways, and you should research some of those things. So if podcasting is one of those things that you feel fits the bill for you, I think Freddie and I think Speke Podcasting is an incredible option. So thank you very much as well, Freddie. I appreciate the time, and I'm looking forward to connecting anyone in the audience with Freddie or anyone that needs those introductions. So until next time, burn the ship and go work hard.